All right. Len, just make sure you let people in as they show up. We got a few stragglers, which is totally okay. All right, let me just switch over. I apologize for the dog barking in the background because my neighbors have just gotten a new dog and they decided to get a dog that barks all the time. So give me a second. All right. All right. Okay, can everyone see that? Yes, and all recordings, thank you. They will be available. All recordings will be linked on the Ignite website, whether you're registered or not. All right, so welcome to our session on selling DI. I figured we'd have a pretty good crowd for this one, so I'm excited. Oh, sorry. Okay. What we're going to cover today are the basics, why we talk about DI. We're going to talk about the conversation conversion success rate. Just make sure everyone is muted. Perfect. We're going to talk about how we talk to the right people about DI, and then we're going to talk about how we talk about DI, and that will hopefully be the bulk of our conversation. I just wanted to give some lead up to talk about why these crucial conversations are so important. Okay. Again, I apologize for the dog if you can hear that. All right, so why we talk about destination imagination? Well, first of all, it's a big part of our lives. Each of us has a history with the program, whether long or short, and that history also gives us a story to tell when we talk about the program. We also talk about DI because we've seen what we call the magic of it in action, and we've seen the impact that it's had on young people. I like to sort of think about this magic as that hard to describe feeling that we get watching a team perform under pressure and celebrate their accomplishments. I'm certainly someone who's known as like the tournament crier because I get kind of overwhelmed with that magical feeling, and I just really can't. Yep, Jane is nodding too. I'm sure many of you have experienced that sort of like tingly moment. The important thing to remember is that we don't need to believe in the magic, right? We actually don't even think, we may think it's magic, but we also know that it isn't magic at all. It's actually a purposeful approach to educating young people by empowering them. And that empowerment is what gets us that sort of good feeling inside. And the last reason we talk about DI to people is because it's very rare for a team to start somewhere without someone else talking about DI to someone at where that team has been created. And that conversation can happen passively, like through word of mouth between friends, family members, colleagues, the basics of word of mouth, which I think has been the bulk of how we've been around for 20 years, is a lot of word of mouth. The other way that we tend to talk about DI is actively, and that's through a wide variety of marketing efforts pursued across the community by affiliates and regions to promote the program, whether that's through going to educational conferences, going to PTA nights, going to after-school groups, STEAM camps, homeschoolers, or education officials in your state, province, or country. All right, so I want to just throw this out there, and anyone's welcome to put this in the chat, or they can, unmute themselves and they can tell us You know, what's your story? How do you talk about, you know, your history with the program? How do you describe the magic? And, you know, who do you talk to about DI and who don't you talk to about DI, and maybe why or why not? So if you'd like to share, you know, you can raise your hand or you can just unmute yourself, and I think you can unmute yourself. If you can't, raise your hand and we will allow you to speak. Again, the dog is very annoying. If you can't, if you can deal with it, I appreciate it. Anybody have anything? Throw it in the chat. I'm happy to share. No one wants to share. No one wants to talk about how they are currently
They
selling.
can unmute themselves.
Anybody? I can unmute you if you'd like. Oh, come on. Oh, Tanya is calling families. Okay, well, that's great. Families that you already know or families that you've never met before? I'm guessing that you already know them. Okay, well, regardless of, we love to present. Okay, here we go. Present to homeschool group. I talk about DI to everyone. It is a part of my day-to-day conversation. Amazing. At this time of year, we're trying to engage teachers into team management. Perfect. We promoted it at our city festival. Awesome. Okay, great. Well, regardless of whether you're giving me great information or not, you should always be thinking about this stuff. And that's what we're going to kind of get into today. So I want to talk about sort of the evidence of the success of conversations. When we first started seriously focusing on expanding our marketing efforts, we identified that the most important moment in the journey of our customers was that crucial conversation. From that point forward, 100% of our efforts were focused on getting potential customers to a point where they wanted to talk to us about DI, either by learning more in an info session or scheduling a phone or a Zoom meeting with us. So since 2020, when we started these efforts, we have seen 3,287 people register for our info sessions or access our on-demand info session, which is available all the time. 364 of those people became a brand new customer in the last 3 seasons. So starting in 2020, so the digital year, and then last year, and then this past season. That's a conversion rate of 11%, which is pretty high. Industry standard conversion rates are usually averaging about 3%. So we feel pretty good that our conversion rate is strong. The other thing that we do, other than this, than the webinars, is our sales calls. And since 2020, we have seen over 685 people register for a call with us, set up a meeting. And that number is actually a little bit lower because we do have people that don't show up, right? Like they just blow us off, which I don't take personally, but it happens. 102 of those people became brand new customers in the last 3 seasons. Now you can see the conversion rate here with a conversation is 15%, which again blows out of the water that 3% industry average to convert a customer. So now the idea is, how do we increase that 685? How do we increase that 3,287 people going to the webinar? And that sort of gets to the idea of attracting people into it. Because we looking at the rates, and we did, sorry, I'm going to take 2 steps back. We have to remember also that these kinds of conversations are also happening in our affiliates. So the numbers are actually higher, but we just don't have any way of capturing that data. But I think if we looked at all the affiliates interactions like this, we'd have to believe that your numbers are higher for your general outreach as well as your conversion rate. So why are the rates so high? Well, we'd like to think that we're promoting, an inherently good product, but I think it's more than that. We also have to remember that these are not necessarily cold calls to just anybody. These are conversations with people who have already shown an interest in what DI is doing. We're actively seeking out the right people and then having them engage with us through a conversation. All right, so I had to add an animated GIF because that's what I do in my PowerPoints. Finding the right people is not magic either. I liken it to moths being attracted to a flame. Now, the key here is determining what your flame is to attract the people who are already interested in the kind of educational approach DI offers. Okay. So when we first started, our flames that we used to attract people were our free giveaways. You can see on the left here, we started with 5 free STEAM activities. Then when the pandemic hit, we sort of turned that into what we called family victories to market to families who were looking for activities for their kids to do while they were on lockdown or in quarantine or just not leaving the house for months on end. And then we also did a social emotional learning piece with activities for teachers when the world was really focused on SEL. And those did pretty well. Our 5 STEAM activities by far was the best performing sort of resource at that time. After that, we started to build out some robust, deeper resources, more in-depth things, really meant for teachers and educators and administrators. There was an article that Chris Beisel, our training director, wrote in a magazine called Childhood Education Innovations. And we actually took that article and repurposed it into a free download. We also did a project-based learning sort of overview booklet based off of what was in that article for like a more condensed thing. These did not perform as well as we thought they would. I think at the end of the day, we realized that people want free stuff, and that's what they tend to give you their email address for, so you can nurture them over time and try to get them to convert. So what we have now on our website, you may have seen these on the homepage. We have some links. We have a more robust free stuff. We have a more robust free
question here.
Yeah. Are all of these in the free resources? No. So that's the thing. These are not available for people just to download and give out. What you should do is we promote them out, and you can send people to the website and they can sign up to get them. We're also working with our affiliates to set up landing pages if they want them to download these, and then we will collect those names and let those affiliates nurture those contacts via email directly. So these aren't things that we are giving away because we don't want to give them away until we get someone's email address. And the only way to centrally do that is through our CRM. But again, we're working with affiliates to help do this. If you've got another need that you need to try to use these for, you can always contact us and we can try to work with you to set something up. But we are trying to keep it at the affiliate level to sort of make things as clean as possible. So these have been performing very well. They look different and they're called different things, but they're ultimately the same thing. The reason we separate them out is because it's important for us to know who's a teacher and who's a parent. And if we can attract a teacher to resource that's made for teachers, then that's what we're going to try to do that as best to our ability. So same thing for the parents. But again, we doubled the size of the 5 STEAM activities to give people 10 STEAM activities, but this also includes a very nice soft introduction to what Destination Imagination is, as a way to kind of just like introduce them if they want to, right? All right, so the way, just really quick to go over how this all works and how to get us to that conversation point is we have Google and Facebook ads, and also on our DI site, we have these forms that people can fill out to get these, to download these pieces. They're taken to a landing page, they give us their name, their email address, and sort of that basic information. Then they immediately get an email with their download. But after that, over several weeks, they're going to get 5 to 7 more emails from us that we pre-wrote that are going to direct those people to either attend a webinar to learn more or set up a call with us to have a call. So that's sort of the pipeline that people go through to get us to the point about to have a conversation. So what I'm going to talk about now is really like what a sales call looks like for us and how you can adapt it for your needs. But it's important to know that we are not cold calling folks and asking them to listen to us about Destination Imagination. That's futile. It really is difficult to do and get good conversion rates on that kind of marketing. So the reason why we're really here is to learn about how to talk about Destination Imagination. I think we've always had an issue in this organization figuring out our pitch, or I think people like to call it an elevator pitch. Not a lot of people really know how to say what it is we do in like less than 4 sentences. I definitely have heard things like, it can't be described without complexity, or you have to see it in action to understand it. Or I love this one, it's overwhelming to outsiders. Not helpful, not helpful. It doesn't have to be. So let's walk through how we manage to pitch a program to someone we know is already curious about what it is DI does. All right, so I kind of touched on this a couple of years ago at Ignite, but we're going to go into a bit more into depth with it. I think when you are talking about something that you're like DI or any product for that matter, you really want to start with the why. You want to start with the why the thing is so special and why you're doing it for the world. In this case, student transformation, 21st century skills, all the benefits that come with empowering kids the way DI does. It's important to know that people don't buy what you do. People buy why you do it. And everyone's purchase is really driven by what they believe about the world and not just what product is available. So if you can get on their wavelength about what they believe about the world and you can match that, I guess you can call it a vibration, then you can, more easily convert them into your next team manager or your next school that wants to support teams. So I'm going to just throw out a little question, and you're welcome to put this in the chat if you know it, but who knows our mission statement by heart? Don't look it up. I figured not a lot of people knew it. That's okay. I think it's important to know it because that's really your why. That's your why. That's the why that you need to go with when you are talking about the program and introducing people to the program. Because if they don't care about the why, then there's no reason to go any further. If you say what our mission is and someone rolls their eyes, guess what? They're not going to be a team manager. They're not going to support a team. So you save your breath and move on to the next person. All right, our mission, the way it says on our website, is to inspire and equip students to imagine and innovate through the creative process. That's it. And it's okay to spice this up. You can know your audience and you can sort of say things differently. Sometimes I say, we want to prepare students to be the leaders and innovators by teaching the creative process. And we also want to inspire their interest in STEAM or STEM fields or science, engineering, and the arts, however you need to say it. But our ultimate goal here is to make kids better, right? Like that's our ultimate goal. And this mission statement was written to reflect the why. So that should be the way you open, I think, anyone who's brand new to DI, even people who've heard about DI and they're like, I don't really know too much. I mean, when I start a sales call, I always say, let me start by asking you what you know about us. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, you know, my sister-in-law told me about it. She had a team and, you know, across the country, and I want to do it for my kids. I don't know much. Sometimes you get people who are like, I just had a call this morning, actually, with a woman who was an appraiser in 2010. She was an appraiser in 2010, and she's coming back now and saying, I think we need to do this in our after-school program. And I'm like, you're right, you probably do. So it just depends on where they are, but I think reiterating the why is important, right? I mean, and over time, people will begin to just know why it is we do what we do. All right, so now the next part of your pitch is the how. So the how, it gets a little bit more hairy, right? Because the how is like, oh God, it's like, it's this whole thing where teams form and it's like they do these things and they build these things and they go to these events and it's like all we have appraisers and it's like, you know, all these sort of, you know, shortened versions of words, and you don't worry about any of that. So you just want to talk about how we do what we do, and the way that we talk about it in our sales calls is very, very simple. Okay. The way we say it is we are a project-based academic competition in which students work together in teams to solve open-ended challenges. That's it. If I'm talking to someone who is open to, you know, more of the education world or has said, oh, my kid likes engineering, then I always add in each of our challenges, each of our 7 annual challenges has a different educational focus. And then I list them out: scientific, technical, engineering, fine arts, improv, service learning, and early learning. Not hard, very quick and easy. So that's the how, right? That's sort of the approach, the way we get the kids to sort of be interested in this kind of learning is basically through a competition. It's basically through a structure of tournaments that keeps them inspired to always push to the next level and do better. So again, first sentence is really all you need. We are a project-based academic competition in which students work together in teams to solve open-ended challenges. I think it's fairly easy to digest that as a newcomer, and then you'll go on to the next thing, the what. Now the what will eventually lead to a more in-depth look at how the challenge experience works, like different things like what's a team manager and what's the commitment and all that stuff. But you don't need to get there yet. You want to just talk about the basics of what it is that the challenge experience looks like after you told them the how. So what I say is in the what is I say each team selects one of these challenges and then works on their solution over several weeks or months. A solution is a presentation that is then brought to a local tournament to be scored and celebrated. So that's it. Those things are really all you need. You're only giving people a very, very high level view, because the minute you overwhelm someone, which I think is the MO with a lot of us, is it freaks them out, it scares them off, right? So at the end of the day, your pitch, yes, the slides will be available and you can have it. The end of the day, this is your three sentence pitch. Our mission, or DI's mission, is to inspire and equip students to imagine and innovate through the creative process. We achieve this with our project-based academic competition in which student teams solve open-ended challenges. Each team works on their solution over several weeks or months before bringing it to a local tournament to be scored and celebrated. So you can see that the pitch evolves. Each piece of the pitch builds on the piece before it. You may only get to the first one. You may have someone sold after they hear that first sentence. You may have someone again be like, no, I'm not interested. I doubt you'll get stopped after the first. Most people want to learn more. Now, there's a more robust version, which I made 5 sentences. And that, again, goes into a little bit more detail about the 7 challenges. In the second sentence, we achieve this with our project-based academic competition in which students work together in teams to solve one of our 7 open-ended challenges. Each challenge has a different educational focus, and then you list them out. So again, you got to know your audience, but most of this stuff will come out eventually if they keep asking questions. Each team works on their solution over several weeks or months. A solution is a presentation that is then brought to a local tournament to be scored and celebrated by trained volunteers. I think that knowing these 5 sentences is probably the best thing you could do in order to be able to talk about what DI is and what the challenge experience is on the fly, in the grocery store, at a game, wherever you're at. But like, this is how we load into our sales calls with people who are brand new and that have already shown interest in things like project-based learning or STEAM, or they heard about DI from someone. And we're not talking to someone who doesn't care about what DI is. We're talking to people that care about this kind of learning. So eventually a sales call goes deeper, right? Like, people want to know, like, what's the time commitment? There's all sorts of questions that come up. And I always encourage you to after you do the pitch, is sort of stop and say, do you have any questions, or shall I continue? And that gives them a chance to like think about what they want to know, and then they'll ask. So some of the things that come up are typical questions that we've gotten on sales calls. And again, we have a lot of sales calls, so we've gone through a lot of these. So here's the question will come up, and then I'm sort of giving you the general gist of how we answer it. People won't ask about Instant Challenge, but I always like to say fairly early on what it is. I always say at tournaments, each team also completes a quick thinking instant challenge that they will not know the details of until they show up. A team's instant challenge score is added to the presentation score. Again, sentence number 2 here, you don't even have to worry about it if it's too much. And then I always like to add, we provide a set of instant challenges to all teams as part of their membership, for practicing purposes or all that stuff. So the more you can tell them that there's resources for someone who's brand new, the better off they're going to feel about making the commitment. Okay. So also early on, people are going to say, well, so what do I need to do? Or who runs the team? This is sort of where I get into the team manager piece of it. And I just say, each team is led by at least one adult team manager. This can be a parent, teacher, or other adult over 18. The team manager is not allowed to provide solutions to a team. They may only guide a team through the creative process. And don't worry, because we provide resources and training to help these individuals. We have a handbook for team managers called the Roadmap, as well as self-paced online modules. And here in New Hampshire or Vermont or Pakistan, we have in-person trainings for team managers as well. So the more you can tell them that there's a support network for them, the more apt, the more likely they're going to be to make that commitment. There's a comment in the, yes, Josh, thank you. The brand style guide will be updated. Again, these selling points were developed through like experiential sales calls. So we're going to update that style guide most likely after the conference. Thank you. Good question. Aruj is asking, what is the creative process? People are interested, but they're not familiar with the creative process. So when people ask that question, I like to tell people that, the creative process is a non-linear set of steps that we empower kids to take in order to create a solution to their challenge. So I don't go into like the actual steps of it, but if you keep it up as, it's a way to empower kids to be innovative and, test their know-how or test their ideas and then put their ideas into action. I think that would be a good way to do it. But I think it would be good. We can develop a way to answer that question as well. So that's the team manager piece. Again, remember, we've done a lot of work to make our team managers feel supported and feel like they have a safety net. So I don't want you to gloss over that when you're talking to teachers and parents about it, because it really is, it can make the difference between someone deciding to do DI and not do DI. I've seen it. All right, time commitment. Oh, this is a fun one. Everyone wants to know, like, what am I getting myself into? What's the commitment? Well, this is how I answer it. Most teams meet once a week for about 2 hours for the majority of their challenge season. As the tournament approaches, teams may choose to meet more often in order to finish and practice their presentation solution. This is the part where we always giggle about procrastination, right? Like even the team managers are like, oh yeah, I would just wait till the last minute too. And I'm like, that's fine, but just so you know, when the team waits, then you're going to be, and everyone scrambles at the end, right? So again, be familiar with what the roadmap suggests. The roadmap has an 8-week and a 16-week sample schedule in there, which only has 1 meeting a week. So be familiar with that as well, but that's what this answer is based on. Obviously, if someone's like, what if I meet more often? It's like, well, then your team could have a more complex solution. That's all, doesn't mean you're going to win. It just means you're going to have a more complex solution. What else do we have here? Oh, this is a fun one. Costs. Everyone was like, okay, so I get through my spiel and I'm like, all right, what else would you like to know? Well, they want to know what it costs. And I say each team number, or what we call a membership, is $165. That's for up to 7 students. Actually, that obviously depends on if you're in the US or outside the US. Sometimes I won't even say the piece about the 7 students. I'll just say 165, and someone will say 165 per kid. And I'm like, no, 165 for all 7. That's 165 for multiple kids over multiple months. Not bad, right? I also will always add in the US, we require each team manager to have a background check, which can be purchased through us for $25. We also have a waiver that schools can fill out for their teachers who have already had a background check. So they can quickly put their fears aside about spending $25 per teacher. Again, this applies to the US. More costs, affiliate fees, tournament fees. What the heck's going on? How many times do I have to pay? Well, I have two answers for that. And before every sales call, I always look up where this person's from and what their affiliate fee is going to be, or how their affiliate is going to collect it, so I can answer this question intelligently. If you are if you are in an affiliate and you only have to worry about your people, then you know what you're charging and when you're charging it. But I would say DI Mexico collects $100 when you purchase your membership. This will cover your tournament registration, right? Or I will say DI Mexico will collect a tournament fee of $100 when it's time to register your team for your tournament. So you just need to be able to say it one way or the other. The minute you start to complicate things, and that's when people are like, oh, this sounds like too much. You just got to say it and sort of be succinct with it. All right. Aruj had a comment. I usually add that it really depends on a team, how in depth you want to dive in. Yeah, so that goes back to the how many times you want to meet per week, right? Like it just depends on how they want to do it. Okay, so materials, right? This is another cost that people need to consider because the kids are going to have to spend money on stuff, right? Their actual solutions. So I always say, you know, each of our challenges has a budget that teams cannot exceed. Most are between $150 and $200. Ultimately, teams spend more than their budget as they prototype and practice, but they are only responsible for expensing the materials that end up in their final presentation or solution. And then I literally say this in my sales calls. I like to tell new team managers to budget between $500 and $600 to cover their membership, local tournament fees, and material costs for the year. Now, adjust that range based on what your affiliate fee is and local costs and things like that, but figure out what it is that someone would need to have in order to run a DI team for a season in your affiliate. Don't worry about global finals. We're going to get to that next. Have that range so they feel comfortable. They are not going in with unknown fees and unknown costs up front. Get them prepared for it. The more they're feeling prepared, the more they're likely to, you know, convert. Okay, tournaments and global finals, my favorite topic to talk about with new people. I usually say, you know, your local affiliate in Texas or wherever you are will provide local tournaments. And depending on your location, you may have a local tournament and then a state or a countrywide tournament. Again, I know where someone's from because they declare it when they set a meeting with us. So I'm able to look this up and see, okay, well, they're in Texas and they're in this county, so they're going to have this regional and then they're going to have this affiliate, or they're in Vermont, so they're just going to have their affiliate tournament, right? So I can adjust that, but I try to keep it simple. And then I will say if there's multiple tournaments, teams that do well at their state or countrywide tournaments are invited to our global finals event held each May. And then I talk about global finals. And I say, the cost of global finals is $5,500 per team plus travel and lodging. And then I always say, I only tell you that now in case global finals would be or is a priority, so you can start fundraising now. However, the majority of DI teams around the world do not attend global finals and still get the full benefit of Destination Imagination. So we are trying to get out of the game. Sure, globals is exciting. It looks great. It looks fun. But the minute you start to push global finals on a brand new person, they're out. So I try to put them at ease. And I like to say, don't worry about it. Just get your kids to a tournament and see the transformation from just that. You know, ad lib it, but be the, you know, sure that DI is about the process, and that's what we always like to say, but it's true. They're not going to learn only at the tournament. They're not going to learn only at globals. They're learning from the first meeting all the way through, and then hopefully for the rest of their lives. So that is how I answer the fun global finals question. If people balk at the price, I'm like, I get it. I wish we could make it cheaper. I can't get into that conversation in a sales call, right? But people are usually like, I get it, that's fine. I'm not worried about it. Sounds fun, but maybe in year 7 or something, you know? All right, questions. That is sort of the, I mean, I just like literally gave you what I and Leonard and Kelsey and Renee, all 4 of us that were engaged in sales calls, try to walk people through. Does anyone have a question? I will unmute you. We can talk, we can chat, you can ask me a question that you think you would get asked, and I can see how I would answer it. Oh, that's good. Yep, that's fine for background checks. Again, I'm just giving you the framework. You can adjust it, but yeah, that's great. I would say that, you know, saying employees versus teachers. Sometimes I usually say your teachers, teachers or staff members who will be running the team. I usually kind of keep it general like that. Do I encourage you to send them to you or to try to do the pitch ourselves? Look, I don't mind. I will set up sales calls, and we take the time, but you're welcome to send them our way. There's links on our website that I will actually show you. You can send them to a specific page. If you go to the contact page, actually it's right on the front page where it says talk to us. But right here on contact us, there's a meet with us link. And people just click that, and then they're they're basically matched up. They get a HubSpot link. I'll show you what it looks like. They can pick the time. Oh no, I'm sorry. It does one through. We actually divide it out a little bit, so they're not. We know where to put people. But if they're a current customer, they schedule a meeting like this. If they're new, they can schedule a meeting as a parent or as an educator or administrator. So we divide them up so we know when we get those meeting links who we're talking to. So if I'm a parent, you basically get this page, you put your email address in. I'll show you what it looks like. And then you can look through the calendar at what's available. We do keep them restricted, but as we get closer to September, we usually open up a little bit so we have more space and time. But, you know, again, we never really run out of time for these. People can go out pretty far. So we also have a section for people who want to bring DI to their state, province, or country and like become a new affiliate somewhere. We don't have an affiliate, but you are certainly welcome to send them to destinationimagine.org/talk-to-us with hyphens. This is my 2nd year, about to start it, and we couldn't afford the global finals. Students were very excited, but it was really expensive, and we had only 2 months.
Can you see it?
What does it include? Only registration? Yeah, so the global finals registration fee only includes the team fee. The travel and accommodations and everything else is outside of that. So that is, we heard we have to buy shirts and badges from places that are with DI, not everywhere else, and those were expensive.
Okay.
You don't have to, I don't think there's any requirement that you buy shirts and badges and stuff. That's just things that, you know, kids trade pins at globals. You know, again, no one is forced to do anything more than they're comfortable doing.
Was the Fox book under there? Emma.
I muted Brenda. Another question, where can we find webinars for new team managers so they learn more? Oh, okay. So there's a couple places you can find webinars. if you go to our website /webinar, that is where people can register for a live webinar. We do them twice a month, or they can access our instant our instant sort of on-demand webinar, which is basically they just have to sign up and they get like a landing page with a video on it. The actual presentations for webinars are available in the resource area in the document section. I believe they're only available to affiliate administration, like regional directors and affiliate directors. If you need we have an intro to DI page on our marketing materials page, which is found in our footer of our website. There is a PowerPoint there, which is the, where is it? Welcome to DI. This will be updated for next year's challenges, probably in the next week or so. But that's the Welcome to DI PowerPoint. So that's a great place for you to download something if you need it quickly. I believe the versions that are for ADs and RDs are just the same thing, so it's not that special. Again, our affiliates are able to set up landing pages. What we've been doing is we've been setting up landing pages for affiliates that are going to conferences. They will print out one version of the creative process guide for teachers, let's say, and they will have that with them, but they do not give it to someone. They show it to them and someone's like, I want that. And then we provide them like a QR code so people can right away sign up for that free download. And then that affiliate has a way to track who came by their booth or who went to their session at whatever conference they're at. So there's also, you can also put that link on social media and promote it out to teachers, and they can go and sign up to get that there. So we are working to try to amplify these materials in a way that is going to work for to help track people. Tanya's asking, can we have a landing page at our school for team managers and DIers? What DI students? Well, we're not collecting student information. We really can't do that. Your school can have a page on its own website that has sort of DI information. I'm not sure what you would need the landing page for if the people are already in the program. Question from Bethany. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get to Bethany's question in a second. No problem. So we can put the landing page info on our socials. Let's see. I'm not quite sure. I mean, if you're doing a landing page for people in the school to learn about DI, then I would just recommend promoting it out by having an info session in your community. The idea with the landing page is really to get someone who may be interested eventually and cultivate them over time through, again, the conversation. So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm happy to work with people if they have specific needs, and they can always email us they can email volunteer@dihq.org and we can try to help you out. And yes, Katrina, you can put the landing page info on your socials, just link to it, and that will direct people to that page. Katrina is one of the affiliate directors that has a landing page. We actually did a landing page for her, and we did a postcard that she could hand out with a QR code on it for a conference in New Mexico. So hopefully that is out there in the world and floating around and people are using it. Bethany had a question. Do you have a data breakdown for successful conversion rates for different roles? We have that data. We don't have it broken down. We have the different life roles. I'll show you what that looks like on our site, and this is going to help you understand. Let me go to the home page. we actually have. So if you go, this is where the link is on our website. If you go to the either one of these, it's going to look the same, but the form, you can see the different life roles. So this one is the parent. So we pre-check the parent when they get to this form, but they're allowed to check anything else. So if they're a teacher, administrator, after-school coordinator, PTO rep, homeschool educator, student, or other, you know, that's way we can track it. So we haven't broken that down yet, but we certainly, I think we can and we should. No, Jane, you have an older version, so we need to get you an updated one for the creative process guide. We'll take care of that, not a problem. So yeah, and then by the way, the folks, when the affiliates are using this, our system collects those email addresses. I get like an email once a week saying, oh, there's a new report for this affiliate landing page, and then I send those contacts to the affiliate to follow up with. So there is work to be done. They will get a drip campaign of emails from us to sort of like give them the background on DI and drive them to a phone call, but we are sharing that out with the affiliate directors to help you know, promote and cultivate those folks as well. So again, if you have a specific need for a landing page, I'm happy to work with you and see what we can do. Again, we're trying to keep it to the level of the affiliates because it's just a little bit easier to control that. But again, if you've got something that you think can work, I'm happy to try something out with a school or a large district. Anything else? I hope this was helpful. I think that the key takeaways are really the pitch. Again, I will have these slides up listed on the Ignite website, so you can download them if you want to. This recording will also be there, so you can go back and watch me try to make it all happen all over again. But I encourage you all to really refine your own pitches and understand, you know, what it is you're selling and why you're selling it, and then distill that down to a thing that you know, people don't get scared away by, because what we do isn't scary. It isn't really overwhelming. I think our community tends to think it is because we've all been in it for so long. But once you simplify it down to its you know, its foundation, it's actually pretty simple. So thank you. I'm glad this was helpful. Simplify. Again, if you have further questions, you can always email us at volunteer@dihq.org. And please enjoy the rest of our lovely little volunteer conference this week. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for coming.